This video is sponsored by DistroKid. I own over 500 mixing plugins, but these 5 make the rest of them pointless. I'm going to show you what they are, and more importantly demonstrate why they're the only plugins you need with audio examples of each. And while the 5 that I'm going to show you are truly essential, I've also put together a list of my most used plugins based on hundreds of past mixing and mastering sessions. If you're curious to know what else I'm using beyond what you'll see in this video, be sure to check that out down in the description below. I'll also leave links to all of the plugins we discussed there as well. But let's start with a plugin that I don't see many people talking about, and that is the Magnum K compressor. This is a plugin emulation of the hardware unit of the same name, fully endorsed by Mag Audio and faithfully modeled by Brainworks. Even though this is technically a compressor plugin, it actually does way more than that. First, it's built around 2 powerful compressors, each designed for a different job. The Magnum Comp is a standard downward compressor with your typical settings, as well as a feedback and feed forward mode, with the latter producing a more aggressive compression sound. The K Comp section beside it is an independent compressor technically placed before the Magnum Comp in the signal chain. This one is focused around 3 kHz, which helps you control the harsh and edgy parts of a signal. This can be really helpful on vocals in particular, as that 3 kHz range can sometimes become a bit too piercing depending on the vocalist. Beyond compression, Magnum K also includes a highly musical parallel EQ with 2 bands. You get dedicated control over the low-mid frequencies, which is perfect for adding weight and fullness, and you also have access to Mag's signature airband. What's interesting about that is it gives you the option to boost ultra-high frequency ranges above 20 kHz, which is typically the limit of human perception. That means you could boost the frequencies of what we can't necessarily hear. However, our brain can still interpret the presence of these ultra-high frequencies, creating a sense of openness, space, or sparkle when enhanced. At the end of the signal chain, you have a built-in soft limiter to prevent clipping, and independent makeup gain controls for dialing in your loudness. You can switch between the left, right, or mid-side modes, and fine-tune your track with essential mastering grade controls and metering. Overall, the Magnum K compressor is really useful at processing individual tracks, groups, and masters, but there's one way that I like to use it in particular: parallel processing. In this example, I've applied Magnum K to a parallel drum track where I'm using both compressors in the feed forward mode and dialed in my settings to produce over 10 decibels of gain reduction. I've also added gain to the low and high frequencies, as well as adjusted the makeup gain slightly to compensate. I'll take it out, put it in, and you can hear the difference. In the past, I would have had to stack multiple compressors, EQs, and limiters onto my parallel channel to achieve a similar result. But Magnum K streamlines this whole process, allowing me to accomplish these multiple tasks with just one instance of the plugin to arrive at a bigger, fuller sound. And as you could probably tell, this video focuses on versatile plugins that can simplify your mixing workflow. But what about streamlining your entire music career? That's where today's sponsor, DistroKid, comes in as your all-in-one solution for music distribution and more. They make getting your music on stores and streaming platforms easy with their simple interface available on mobile and desktop. And when it comes to your music earnings, they collect and pass on 100% of your music revenue directly to you. But DistroKid does more than get your music onto stores faster and easier than other distributors. They also give you extra tools to help you market and promote your release. This includes creating hyperfollow landing pages so your fans can listen to your music on their preferred streaming service, and the Visi Video Generator to create cool visualizers to enhance your audio and post on a social media, among many others. There's a reason why over 2 million artists rely on DistroKid globally, including yours truly. Try them out today and you could save 7% off your first year by using my link down in the description below. The next plugin I want to talk about has become my go-to vocal de-esser since I first started using it a few months ago, and that is Honourable's Smart De-ess, which functions very differently from your standard de-esser plugin. Let me explain. Most de-essers are multi-band compressors that specifically target the sibilant frequency range of a sound. When that sibilant frequency range becomes too loud and crosses a set threshold, the compressor kicks in to reduce its presence. The problem is this style of detection isn't always accurate. For example, if an S sound is harsh but too soft, it might not be loud enough to cross that threshold and the de-esser will miss it entirely. Similarly, a loud non-sibilant sound in the same frequency range can also pass the threshold and mistakenly cause the de-esser to reduce it, potentially making the audio sound unnatural. But SmartDS approaches detection differently. It uses AI algorithms to detect sibilant components without a threshold or a fixed frequency range. When you put it onto your vocal chain, the first thing it asks you to do is play and analyze the track. After this analysis, it identifies and treats harsh sibilants from the rest of the performance across the entire spectrum, regardless of loudness or frequency. This means it not only detects and treats high-frequency S sounds, but also other phonemes including plosives, which typically live in the lower frequency range. Once SmartDS has detected these problems, it then uses spectral processing to tame them transparently. Think of this as very high-resolution multiband processing, where the frequency spectrum is divided into thousands of bands, and then each band is treated uniquely. This allows SmartDS to zero in on the frequencies where the sibilance is actually taking place on a micro level, and only reduce the presence of those frequencies in particular. This arguably makes SmartDS the most accurate de-esser on the market today, offering way more precision than your typical broadband de-esser, which most of us are probably still using. Check it out on this example.
Deuce high, take me on a moon ride. Maybe when the moon's right, we can just see what's here. Decide who you gonna be like. Wish that I could rewind just so I can see what's clear. Deuce high, take me on a moon ride. Maybe when the moon's right, we can just see what's here. Decide who you gonna be like. Wish that I could rewind just so I can see what's clear. Deuce high, just this. Just so I can see what's clear.
It's a little bit awkward when I'm soloing it, but overall it's pretty impressive. I know for me, dealing with harsh sibilants and plosives used to require multiple plugins and a lot of manual treatment to fix. But SmartDS has automated this entire process for me, treating both of these common issues quickly and easily. Honestly, I can't imagine going back to a manual de-esser now, and I'm sure you'll feel the same way once you try it out for yourself. But if there's one plugin that's completely changed my mixing game recently, it's this next one. While I slept on it when it first came out, it's become a go-to part of my process, and now I honestly can't imagine mixing without it. And that is iZotope's Neutron 5. Neutron 5 is an all-in-one mixing suite that contains 10 modules. This includes the standard ones you'd expect, like their gate, EQ, compressor, exciter, and transient shaper. But it also has unique tools such as the unmask module, which is great for managing competing sounds, as I've shown you in my past videos. The sculptor for adaptive spectral shaping, the phase module for correcting phase alignment and rotation, the density module for intelligent upward compression, and the clipper for increasing loudness while preserving headroom. What makes a lot of these modules stand out is their multi-band focus, like the transient shaper for example, which allows me to enhance only the mid-range attack on a snare drum while reducing low-end sustain separately. Many of Neutron's modules also offer unique stereo field controls beyond standard left-right, including mid-side and transient sustain modes, the latter of which I don't see on many plugins. Neutron 5 also has a built-in AI mix assistant that can create a custom module chain for your audio in just a few clicks, which you can adjust further afterwards. Now I personally use all of the modules, but let's focus on the phase one in particular. I use it to quickly correct phase alignment issues, such as between the kick and the bass. These two sounds interfere with each other in most mixes, so this is something that I commonly have to treat with processes like this. I've already put an instance of the phase module on all of the bass sounds in my mix, and I've used the kick as the sidechain input. By clicking the learn button and playing the track, it'll automatically rotate the phase alignment of the bass so it's more in sync with the kick drum. Doing this across the whole track will ultimately reinforce these competing sounds and create a bigger, fuller low end, like so. It's a very impressive difference and so easy to execute, even if you don't know how to identify and treat phase issues in a mix. Really, everything you need to mix is built into this neat little package, so if there's one plugin you should consider picking up from this list, it's this one, since really it covers everything you need. But let's now talk about an effects plugin that gets a lot of work in my mixes, and that is Soundtoys Echo Boy. Echo Boy is arguably the best delay out there due to how versatile it is. In fact, it's so versatile that I don't just use it for delays, but more on that in a bit. Echo Boy features 4 echo modes, whether you want the simplicity of the single echo mode, or the rich stereo sound of the dual echo and ping pong modes, or even the quirky manual control of the rhythm echo mode. Basically, any type of delay you want, you can achieve with one of these options. We can make the delays sound more unique and distinct by adjusting the groove and feel settings. To the right, you'll see the output section, which includes an input and output for volume control, as well as a built-in saturator, which adds tube or tape-like compression, emphasis, and subtle distortion onto the delay signal. This is really useful as I often stack a saturator onto my delay effects chain to add more character, and having it built right into Echo Boy allows me to avoid this extra step. The left side of the interface gives you access to your standard delay controls, which vary by echo mode. This at the very least includes controls for echo time, which can be synced to tempo, a feedback setting to increase or decrease the amount of repeats, a mix setting, and low and high cut filters to focus your delay sound tonally. You can further adjust the character and tone of your delay by switching between Echo Boy's 30 different echo styles, many of which were modeled directly from famous analog hardware. One of my favorite things to do is to go through all of the styles after I've dialed in my delay settings to find the perfect tone for my effects, like this.
On my way to the shuttle, taking no risks, no buckle. If something goes wrong, I fear I might not make it, but I did try. At the end, light shines up the tunnel. All bets on me like 00. Haven't lost my hope. If it rains like this, I know the sun gon' shine.
But as I mentioned earlier, I like to use Echo Boy for more than just delays, so let me show you what I mean by that. You can apply Echo Boy in single echo mode and then reduce the echo time down to 0 milliseconds so that no delay is actually taking place. From there, you can use the saturation and echo style to add more character to your sound. Basically, we're using Echo Boy as a tonal shaper or character processor rather than a delay as it's traditionally used. Check it out on this example where I'm applying it to a piano and string sound. I'll take it out, put it in, and you can hear the difference. Simply put, Echo Boy goes beyond being my go-to delay plugin that can achieve any echo that you dream of. It's also a powerful secret weapon for adding unique character and tone to your tracks if you know how to use it creatively, as I just showed you. Now, before I reveal the final plugin on the list, you may be wondering, where the is FabFilter? While they don't actually have a plugin on the list, not acknowledging them would be a huge omission on my part since I rely on their plugins for pretty much every mix that I work on. In fact, the Pro Q4 and Pro MB are my default EQ and compressor in Pro Tools because of how much I use them. Aside from those two, I also frequently use the Pro C2, Pro DS, Pro R2, Pro L2, and Saturn 2. Let's face facts, FabFilter makes some really popular plugins, and there's a few good reasons for that. First is their intuitive user interfaces and consistent workflow across their entire series of plugins. For example, I like the Pro Q4 and the Pro MB in particular because of their click to create drag and drop style workflow, which makes adjusting material quicker and easier compared to other plugins. All of their tools also provide extensive visual feedback, whether it's the detailed spectrum analysis so you can see how you're affecting the overall frequency balance of a sound, or how much gain reduction is being applied through dynamic processing. I find that these features and insights help me make more precise and calculated decisions rather than just guessing. And this ties into another reason why FabFilter plugins are so good, which is their comprehensive features. Most of their plugins contain everything you could possibly need to control, shape, and make more effective choices in a mix. For instance, the Pro L2 has a unity gain button, which matches the output level with the gain level so you're able to hear how the limiter is affecting your material without any loudness bias, a feature painfully absent on other limiters. Similarly, the Pro R2 provides maximum control over creating a compelling reverb sound, from choosing a reverb style, to adjusting settings like pre-delay and decay time, to then sculpting the sound and reducing competition with its built-in ducking and post EQ. And if you've watched my past videos, you know that the Pro Q4 is an absolute powerhouse of an EQ, letting you make adjustments in a number of ways, with many different band types from bells to shelves and beyond, unique stereo field placement including mid-side modes, and the ability to turn any band into a dynamic band or a spectral band, which makes other resonance suppression plugins obsolete. Now, workflow is one thing, but the more important question is, how do they sound? And me personally, I find that FabFilter's plugins are extremely transparent for the most part, designed to do exactly what you tell them to without introducing unwanted artifacts, coloration, or phase issues. Overall, FabFilter's plugins are focused but versatile enough to fit into any situation. They're easy to use, they sound awesome, they're great on CPU, and they're flexible enough that I often reach for them over other plugins. Pro R2 also happens to be the only reverb on the list, so that alone is worth checking out to potentially fill a gap in your workflow. But speaking of gaps, let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle. With our mixing tools covered in the previous plugins, you might be asking, what about mastering? And that's where our fifth and final plugin comes into play, iZotope Ozone 11. Much like Neutron, Ozone is a complete suite, giving you access to a powerful collection of tools for that final polish. Me personally, I've always used Ozone 11 Advanced, which gives you access to all 19 modules and many other benefits. This includes the standard ones you'd expect, like the dynamics, equalizer, exciter, imager, and maximizer, but it also includes some unique modules as well, like the stabilizer, spectral shaper, match EQ, low-end focus, and clarity modules. Truthfully, I find myself using certain modules over others, not just on the master, but also on individual tracks and groups as well. For example, I use the imager a lot, not only when mastering, but also on groups and even individual stereo tracks to adjust their presence within the stereo field, making sounds wider in specific frequency pockets, or even more mono-compatible in the low end depending on the sound. I'm also a big fan of the maximizer module, which I often use as the final step in my mastering chain due to how flexible it is. Its latest iteration includes new features like soft clipping and upward compression, making it incredibly powerful for crafting those bigger, fuller masters you're after. Now, a key challenge is that mastering can feel intimidating, especially when you're first starting out. It's pretty common to be unsure of what direction to go in or what processing to use. For that reason, one of my favorite things to do when first loading up Ozone 11 onto my master is use its built-in AI mastering assistant to get me started. Let me show you an example of what this AI mastering assistant looks like. With Ozone 11 open, I'm going to enable the mastering assistant. I'm going to just play the loudest section of my track and build a complementary mastering chain in real time.
Tell me, is your plans for me more than I imagine? Tell me, if I do it my way, is it gonna happen? Tell me, if he talking wrong, can I bring out the fist? Blocking out Jesus' sun is covered like solar eclipse. Tell me, repeatedly, that life's not a waste. Come and tell me that to my face. Come and tell me that to my face. Mouthing out of place. Something in my mind I can't erase. Something that I cannot really find. Something that is probably sitting back end of my mind. I don't really see how I could be any way that I could, any way that I should. Anybody would come and use me or talk to me, and I don't really know how to deal with it, but you can tell me.
Not bad, right? But the truth is I rarely use what it gives me exactly as is. Instead, I like to use this as a starting point, often bypassing and evaluating each module, and then adjusting parameters to arrive at something that's entirely my own. Another Ozone feature I love is how it integrates into iZotope's Audio Lens software, which is also included with the advanced version. With Audio Lens, I can play a song from anywhere on my computer, such as off Spotify, for example, and use it to analyze and capture key sonic characteristics like tonal balance, dynamic range, and stereo width from the reference. Afterwards, you can use the profile it's captured within Ozone to match these features in your own mixes and masters. That means we can match loudness, EQ curves, and more from our favorite songs quickly and easily in just a few clicks. And this capability isn't just limited to Ozone, by the way, it also integrates with Neutron 5, which we talked about earlier. Combine that with all the other excellent features that come with Ozone, such as the built-in gain match, the ability to compare compare to a reference track, preview your master in a particular codec, add dither, and also tap into its I/O and metering options, Ozone 11 is everything you need to master a song and more, since many of the modules also work well outside of mastering. If I were building my plugin collection from scratch today, these 5 plugins and a few potential bonuses would be my essential first choices. But now I'm curious to hear from you. What are your essential mixing plugins? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you're looking for even more ideas on how to improve your mixing arsenal, don't forget to check out my list of my most used plugins. I'm going to leave a link to that down in the description below once again. But before we fully wrap up, let me quickly tell you about another type of plugin that I didn't cover in this video, yet can also simplify and streamline your workflow. And that would be a good channel strip like the Waves SSL EV2. I'll leave a video on screen for you to watch next where you can see me using it on a vocal mix in particular. If you got value out of the video, please give it a like so we can reach more people. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing to see more mixing content like this in the future. I appreciate y'all for watching and look forward to seeing you again next time. Peace.
5,